Now, firearm associations and dealers are reporting a significant increase in the number of women applying for gun licenses. A total of around 143,000 new licenses were recorded. This by the Central Firearms Registry in the year 2020-2021. But to discuss this even further, we're joined by the chairperson of the South African Gun Owners Association, Damien Enslin. Thank you for your time, Damien. Good morning to you. What do stats tell us in terms of the number of guns or even gun licenses now issued and the reasons for this?
Thank you to you and thank you to the viewers. So when they talk about finalized, they don't actually mean approved. So there's 143,000 were finalized. Obviously, there is a certain percentage that are also refused of those applications. So we would like to obviously ask the police and CFR to indicate to us how much were approved and how much were actually sort of refused. But yes, absolutely, we have seen an uptake in firearms applications and competency applications since about July last year. And obviously with the recent release of crime statistics again, and that crime is obviously seemingly out of control, people are arming themselves.
Yeah, so it's for that reason that we're also seeing women, applying for gun licenses, purchasing guns. It's to secure their safety. They don't feel safe without guns in this country. Is that what this data is telling us?
Absolutely correct. I mean, going back to July again, I was in Durban and there was a group of women dancers that decided to go and as a group learn about how to use firearms. So women don't want to be victims any longer, no more. And they are getting themselves armed. They're obviously primarily the targets of serious crime, rape, murder, etc., and domestic violence. So they are arming themselves and getting the training, and a lot of ladies are actually also getting involved in sport shooting. You know, sport shooting it levels the playing fields. It doesn't matter how strong or weak or small or big you are. We have a lot of lady sport shooters who are extremely excellent sport shooters and outshoot the men as well. So the ladies are definitely doing it for themselves, and I think women don't want to be victims anymore.
Would we compare just applications to licenses recorded so far to date, Damien? Where does that number stand?
Well, as I said, obviously we have to rely on what the police releases to us, and they obviously only release certain figures to us. So as I indicated in the beginning, when the police refer to 143,000 applications finalized, that doesn't mean that they've all been approved. Obviously, there was a huge backlog because of COVID, and there's also been sort of extenuating circumstances with regards to the two amnesties recently. You may recall the two recent firearm amnesties that has also created a backlog, and in actual fact, that's still creating a huge backlog with IBIS testing delaying firearm license amnesties. So between the two amnesties, that increased the numbers of licenses by approximately 60,000. So the numbers are slightly skewed. Typically, SAPs or CFR finalized between 80 to 100,000 per annum. But that's again finalized, not approved. There are obviously some portions of that that are refused.
So what about those who only, get their gun licenses for occasional sports or even gun shooting?
Well, absolutely. There are a percentage of those applications are for occasional sport shooting or dedicated sport shooting. It depends on the type of firearms that you're applying for. And for what purpose you're using using the firearms for. So again, the actual statistics are within the realms of the police, and it's very difficult to get that type of data to actually know the breakdown. So many Section 13 self-defense licenses were issued, so many Section 15, 16, etc. We would have to ask questions via the Portfolio Committee on Police to try and get that data from the police. But we as an organization do see that there are a number of obviously sport shooters that are refused, a number of occasional sport shooters that are refused, hunters, etc., that are refused, and then they're entitled to appeal that refusal.
Yeah, I think also just for the benefit of our viewers and perhaps those who don't even own guns, what's the criteria for a competency certificate to be issued, for one to be issued that gun license? What do you have to go through for that to happen?
There is a process. You have to go to an accredited training provider. There are a number of accredited training providers within South Africa. And basically, the prospective applicant purchases a series of books There's an open book portion and a closed book portion. You write an exam, you do a practical shoot, and then you apply to the police for your SAPS competency, and that involves a criminal records background check. We of SAGA have been saying to the police, put a lot more emphasis on the competency. That should actually become a more important process. Once you deem someone competent, that should entitle them to register the firearm. But thereafter, the person has to apply for the firearm license. So there is a process, and you're easily looking at 8 months, sometimes longer, 12 months. And there are a number of persons, a number of our members have been waiting upwards of 15, 16, even 2 years for a license application. Obviously, COVID had an effect. The firearm amnesties had an effect. But we've been calling on CFR and SAPS to rapidly get through their backlogs.
All right, we'll leave it there. And I appreciate you speaking to us about this morning. Damien Ainsland from the South African Gun Owners Association, thank you for your time.